Dennis Freeman here at Elmwood Auto Group in East Providence. Today we're going to discuss a very important topic, one that our customers ask us on a regular basis. Should I buy or should I lease? And with that, they oftentimes have a lot of questions, and today we're going to get those answers. In today's day and age, everybody who walks through that showroom door is a potential lease customer. With the prices of cars nowadays, a finance term of 6 or 7 years on the average $30,000 car is still a $500 payment. And most people are looking for the lowest possible payment. The average trade cycle is every 3 to 4 years, which puts you in that sweet spot of a lease term. And leasing typically is the best way to go. So doing a lot of miles in a lease is not a problem at all. A lot of people tell me, I think I drive too many miles per year to lease, when in actuality, they drive too many miles a year to purchase. And here's why. So they'll take out a 6 or 7 year loan, doing 15 to 20,000 miles a year. At the end of 3 years with 60,000 miles, that car's value has greatly depreciated. Little or no money down and only the minimum monthly payment every month. In most cases, at the end of 3 years, you end up owing more than what the vehicle's worth. And a lot of my customers can relate to that. They're upside down. They've heard that term, underwater. So with a lease, you never have to worry about that because the mileage is set up front and the value is predetermined at the end of the lease. There is a charge of 20 cents per mile over the allotted mileage. However, we take most of our leases back in trade. Most customers, when they complete their term on the lease, they want to lease another one, or in some cases at that point, they do want to switch over to a purchase. So we'll take that vehicle back in trade. Now, if we take the vehicle in trade, or if the consumer buys out their lease, there is no penalty for miles. During the duration of the lease, you are responsible for paying for maintenance. However, the cost of driving on a lease compared to a buy is always less because in most cases, the only thing you have to do is put gas in it, change the oil, rotate the tires, and you're good to go. So just like the purchase of a vehicle, full insurance is required with a lease. And if you do happen to get into an accident, it's the same exact process as if you owned the vehicle. You would get a police report, call your insurance company, contact the dealership. We'll arrange to have the vehicle repaired, and we'll get you back on the road in no time. So the condition you would normally keep your vehicle in if it was a purchase is the same condition you want to keep your leased vehicle in. But with your welcome packet from the leasing company, you will receive a vehicle assessment guide and what we call the credit card test. So you're actually allowed 5 dings per panel that can be covered up with something the size of a credit card. So as far as paint, no charge. There's all scratches or dings, dents that can be covered by a credit card. As far as seats, scuffs and stains are not chargeable. Tires have to be more than 1/8 of an inch of tread left, and they have to match. They have to be the same size, of course. A lot of people ask me, what about my windshield? I have a chip in my windshield. A chip is not chargeable. If it started to spread or crack, then it is chargeable. So again, the condition you would normally keep your vehicle in if it was a purchase under regular circumstances is how you'd want to keep your leased vehicle. You can do a lot to a leased vehicle, actually. I have a lot of my customers that add rain guards, bug deflectors, bed liners, tow hitches. They'll tint the windows. You can't modify a vehicle beyond factory specs, as far as exhaust or engine modifications. But again, you can dress the vehicle up. You can add a lot of accessories. You can swap out the radio, upgrade the speakers. Things of that nature you can do, absolutely. The great thing about a lease is you only pay sales tax on the payment, whereas on a purchase you pay sales tax on the full purchase price. And you do have to pay your local property tax as you would on a purchase. Your credit score will affect the payment of a lease just as it will affect the payment on a purchase. If you have poor credit, fair credit, good, very good, or excellent will determine what tier you fall into on the lease, just as a purchase, tier 1, tier 2, tier 3, or tier 4. The great part about leasing is you have a lot more options at the end of 3 years than you do a purchase. So at the end of the lease, your options are to turn it in and walk away, to trade it in and release another vehicle, or to buy it out for the predetermined residual. And a lot of my customers do, in fact, buy their leases out at the end. If they've put more miles than expected, they'll buy it out. If they put less miles than expected, they'll buy it out. And if their needs have not changed, their lifestyle hasn't changed, they still love their vehicle, it suits all their needs, they've owned it since day one, they've maintained it since day one, then that's a great option to be able to have to buy out your vehicle at the end. The great thing about a lease is you do have more options than a purchase, and yes, you can get out of the lease early. If you need to trade the vehicle in for another vehicle that suits your needs before the lease obligation is up, you can. You can also make the remaining payments that are due on the lease and turn it in early. So again, you do have more options as far as getting out of the lease than you would on a traditional purchase. The great thing about a Chrysler lease is gap insurance is included automatically in the lease. So gap insurance stands for Guaranteed Automotive Protection. We've all heard the term underwater or upside down when you owe more than what your vehicle's worth. So if in the unfortunate event that you had an accident that resulted in a total loss, gap insurance would pay the difference. For instance, if you owed $20,000 on a vehicle that was only worth $15,000, the gap insurance would cover that difference and you wouldn't be responsible for it. So let's crunch some numbers and take a look at an actual lease versus buy example. Now this is on the very popular brand new Jeep Cherokee. I'm using a Jeep Cherokee with an MSRP of $32,000 and a sale price of $28,000. So to lease that vehicle for 36 months would be approximately $350 a month, and that includes tax. If you were to purchase that vehicle for 72 months, it would be $480 a month, which includes tax. Now again, for most people, a car payment is a fact of life, and when we buy, we normally take out the longest term possible for the lowest payment possible, but then we trade in after 2 or 3 years, and in a lot of cases, we owe more than what the vehicle's worth. But in any event, $350 a month for the lease, $480 for the purchase. After 36 months, the term of the lease, you will have paid in $12,600. At the end of 3 years on the purchase, you will have paid in $17,280. So you see there's about a $4,000 savings on the lease. The residual on the lease, based at 50%, is approximately $15,000. So you do have the option of purchasing that vehicle at that point for $15,000. But you're not obligated to. At that point, you can release another vehicle, turn this vehicle in, and go buy a motorcycle, or buy it out for the $15,000. On the buy, you're still going to owe approximately $15,000, and again, that's about what the vehicle will be worth at that time. But what would you rather pay? $350 a month, totaling $12,600, or $480 a month, totaling $17,280. And at this point, you're most likely going to have 30 or 40,000 miles on the vehicle. It's going to be time for tires. It's going to be time for brakes. You're going to stop putting money into the vehicle. Cost of ownership is less with a lease, and the monthly payment most of the time is usually less on a lease. So again, I know that a lot of people are going to still have a lot of questions. That's why I'd like to personally invite you to come down to Elmwood Auto Group and sit down with one of our experts, and we'll spell everything out for you.